It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Welcome to another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast, the podcast made by film fans for film fans. I sound almost normal today, even though I was going to say diagnosed, but that sounds way too severe. I got told I have bronchitis from a clinician, so that's interesting, dealing with that this week. But we did have a pretty good week of movie watching, both in theaters, and Corey watched a lot, at least Amazon Prime series-wise, outside of the theater. But we'll talk about that and a little bit of movie news and physical media roundup, the typical shtick. But we're coming off of a bridal shower, wedding shower that we both went to. I don't know what the technical terminology is, and I didn't go to any of the ones that my wife was at because I didn't care. But yeah, we're coming off of that, drinking and bowling all day. So Corey, how have you been, and what are we going to be sipping on throughout this episode?
I'm good because I kicked your ass in bowling.
You did both times, yes. I suck at everything. Anything that has to do with athleticism, coordination. If you couldn't tell by the everything about me, I'm not good at anything that requires competitive sport, skill, technique. I'm dog shit at it. I was so bad at sports that I tried theater instead, and I was not even good at that.
You're pretty good in James and the Giant Peach.
Yeah, when I played a woman.
Yeah, that was pretty cool,
massive knockers. Yeah.
That was pretty sweet. I
remember getting fitted for that dress after school that one day because the director was like, "Yeah, we're gonna have you fill in for Sophia. She's out sick today." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. I'll learn her lines. There's not that many, thankfully." But now I need to get some titties, so we'll figure that out.
They look great. They look fantastic. They sat so nice.
They sat well.
Yeah.
Which, this is way too long of an intro, but as a very heavy kid growing up, I had tits up until now. Still, actually, currently, I still have moobs. So this is an interesting start to this episode. I didn't think it was going this direction, but
we'll
talk about it.
They look
thanks,
good.
Bud. Thanks.
Yeah. Of course, always there for you.
He's a good friend.
Just looking at your tits all the time.
We're staring at my brother's tits at the wedding shower.
Yeah, we were.
Dude was nipping out. It was like 80 degrees in there. I don't know why he was so hard up there.
His shirt was a little tight, too.
Yeah. Blake's not watching this. He's fine.
Yeah. It's all right. Anyways, yeah, we got some Cerveza Pacifico. Got some Modelo as well. So
yeah. I never had Pacifico, and we were talking about Modelo's earlier, so I was like, I feel like I need to try it. We'll do both.
Yeah. So we're on the Mexican kick today.
Interesting, very good.
Yeah, your favorite race, I think.
That's a weird thing to say. I'm not gonna dispute it, but
yeah, he's just said that multiple times. It's a little strange, but
I don't like the ranking of races. That feels bad.
Do you want to do it now?
No,
okay.
Shut up.
No, that's fine. We don't have to.
Borderline, this all needs to get cut.
No, that's fine. We can do it maybe next week or something. It's fine. It's
Give
fine.
me time to think about
Scary movie. That'll be a good time to do it next week.
Good.
That'll be a good race ranking. Anyways.
That was bad.
It was
bad.
Yeah, Backrooms week. It was Backrooms week.
Backshots week. Got him. I got him.
There was, sorry, to go back to the wedding shower a couple hours ago.
Whoa.
There was, no. We did a game where you had to write the alphabet and write words that corresponded to a wedding. So it was A through Z. You write bride and groom or whatever.
For whatever amount of time. That would have been a good one for B.
Yeah.
Backshots.
No, well, that's what I said. And then your wife was like, there are kids at this table. As you
continued saying some of the worst things.
You, your three brothers, and me are at the table just writing backshots, bukkake, all this type of shit in there. Oh. It was really fun. And then your wife being like, hey, can you guys... And we're just
reel it in, and we're like...
No, probably not.
No.
Yeah. Another B, Backrooms. That came out this week. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I had not been familiar with Backrooms really before a few months ago, honestly. Yeah. I didn't know much about it, but if you aren't familiar with it, back in I think it was 2019 on 4chan, which I've never been on in my life. It's some type of internet chat forum type thing. Somebody posted a picture of just this yellow room of an abandoned furniture store, office building or something. And I think it was actually in Oshkosh, Wisconsin they traced it back to. But it was just this kind of eerie picture of this empty room, this kind of liminal space. And it kind of blew up on there, and then Kane Parsons, he directed this kind of web series, TV series, whatever you want to call it, on YouTube, starting in 2022. The last episode was in 2025. And there's 25 shorts that he made, and there's a whole playlist on YouTube if you're interested in watching. That's what I did this week. And it's about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Did he make all of them?
Yeah, he directed all the little shorts there, and he's talked about having like a whole mythology and like building this out, which is very apparent from this little web series. So in preparation for the movie Backrooms this week, I went through and watched all 25 of those shorts. Most of them are like 2 minutes to like maybe 12 to 14. And then there's one short that's 45 minutes, which is one of the best ones. But this was so cool. It was such a fun little weird night of getting home from work and then just like diving into Backrooms lore and mythology and all that shit. But essentially it's just kind of, again, the weird little rooms, and people kind of find their way in there. They either like fall through a floor or like go into a wall or whatever it is. And they're just exploring this weird space where there's random shit, just like a chair facing a corner, or there's just like a teddy bear sitting there, or stop signs that are backwards, shit like that. And it's really just eerie and weird, and it's all on like an old camcorder, and it's just kind of a nice, like, an unsettling and unnerving space to be in, but also like comforting in a weird way, of like this abandoned building. I don't know why, like how it balances that really, but just as like, when I was watching it at least, I'm like, it's cozy in a weird way, but also fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So it's, and I think just part of it too is like, because all the rooms are mainly empty, but there's just a couple random things, it's like, it's not filled out all the way, and it's just kind of like this soulless area that you're just like, there should be more here, and there's not. And it's really cool. I mean, there's not really like a linear story throughout the web shorts, but you get pieces of like this company Async, and you see back in like I think it was the late 80s that in the chronology it starts, where the company was like experimenting on having this like magnetic distortion room, like a low proximity, something they call it. And they create these like threshold doors, you go in, and then they're like trying to build it out and map it out and find out what's going on in there. And then all these like people in the yellow suits, which we see a little bit of in the movie.
Yeah.
Like they're going in and experimenting and doing all types of weird shit. It's really cool. I just had a fun time like watching through these. There's some genuinely creepy shit in here. It's not really like jump scare heavy. It is just kind of like wandering through hallways and you're getting lost because it's just a maze back there. I know you haven't seen any of them, so I just kind of wrote down a few of them that really stood out to me. The first one that's released is called Found Footage, or it's like the Backrooms Found Footage or something.
I think I've seen a snippet of that. It was brought up. Backrooms was brought up on Corridor Crew before I think this movie was really like greenlit. And then it got greenlit, and I was like, oh, I think I've heard about this, and I know a little bit about this, and it really just traces back to that first one that Kane Parsons made. So I don't know much about... I didn't know it was so many, 24 to 25 or whatever, that have been made since then.
That first one is... It's just like a group of kids that starts out with filming like a short film.
Yeah. And
then the kid just like... One of them falls through, and he's just in the back rooms with his camera just walking through. And the second one is like a girl in her garage, and she's... like, just finds this little square that, like, shit will drop through. She, like, drops a baseball and, like, wood chips and other shit in there. And she just wanders around. And then the third one is the found footage number 3 is the longest one at 45 minutes. And it's just a guy that's wandering through. And he's, like, at one point he's talking to somebody. And they're like, hey, I see you on the other side of this wall. And he's like, well, just open the door. And he's like, I don't see anything. It's just a wall. And the guy's talking to him. He's like, dude, it's coming. You have to open the door. He's like, fuck, I can't do anything. And the guy's like, you open it. You have to open it. He's like, fuck. So just like weird shit like that really creeps me out. But they do create like a good little kind of mythology you can piece together of this company that is experimenting and doing research and stuff. A couple other really good ones. Informational video. Autopsy report is really cool, where they're analyzing somebody that died in the back rooms, and they had like kind of like bacteria and fungus coming out of them, almost like a Last of Us type of look.
It makes me think of like Annihilation, like how things like genetically mutate in whatever, in that like kind of in that finale of that film.
It's a very similar look to that. So just like it's like just so cool of like these little shorts where it's like 2 minutes of just like a doctor being like, yeah, like we're testing the cells and doing this shit. My favorite one is Pitfalls. That is by far the best of the shorts in my opinion, where the researchers are going through on this async team, and they find this room where there's like a door on the other side, and there's a bunch of like holes in the floor, and there's like a brief walkway, and then one guy's trying to go through and he falls down one of them, and they're trying to get him back up, but then he starts exploring shit, goes into a house, he thinks he hears somebody, and I won't spoil it I guess, but he just sees some weird fucking little monster type things, whatever they are.
Are they all done in like found footage type?
Yeah.
Which I really actually find to be refreshing, and the aspects of that are included within the movie that we'll talk about in a minute. Also really refreshing, because I feel like found footage just boiled down to a lot of like Paranormal Activity type stuff, or just like jump scare, which from what I've experienced with Backrooms, it's not really a jump scare fest. It's more just like a discomfort, like an underlying discomfort, and not knowing. And rooms not making sense, and not knowing where you're at, or not knowing a way out, and I really like that, and that's like a fun way to kind of explore the found footage kind of avenue in horror, which like Backrooms, it's not like I said, it's not like the most upfront scary thing, but it really relies on the fact of just unease and just upsetting, or really just kind of taking things a little bit out of the ordinary and just putting it on a skew and just freaking you out a little bit. So I really appreciate that it's bringing found footage back, because I kind of miss that genre. Whereas like in like the 2010s, it was like, oh my god, every fucking horror movie is found footage and it's bad. It's not scary. It's just jump scares and nothing. But this is just we're gonna ease you into a lot of discomforting things.
It definitely taps into that uncanny valley, and we'll talk about that in the movie here in a sec too. But yeah, really liked watching through this web series and just immersing myself in that in a night. Watching through all of them was just kind of a lot, but it was fun. So I'd recommend checking them out. Like I said, there's multiple playlists on YouTube that kind of have all of them. And like some of them, I guess, aren't specifically found footage. They're just like some of the shorter ones, like 1 to 2 minute ones. It's like an episode of The Simpsons, and then it just cuts in with like a weird commercial, or like shows a clip from a camera in the back rooms. One of them is just like a news footage reel of like an earthquake happening in like LA in the 80s or something, and it's just really eerie music over it. It doesn't even have anything to do with Backrooms really, but it's just really weird, interesting stuff. So like I said, Kane Parsons did that, and that was really interesting. So it was kind of fun doing that leading into the movie this week.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Kane Parsons, a 20-year-old director, which I feel like I've heard nothing but that, and Curry Barker all week of like a 20-year-old horror director, a 26-year-old horror director, both putting out films, both becoming #1 domestic top earners, being huge kind of revelations for the horror genre this summer, and outgrossing big genre fare like Star Wars on given days and stuff like that. So, and this being tracked as potentially the highest opening for an A24 film, previous kind of trophy earner of that keep of having the biggest opening was Civil War, I believe, that Alex Garland film from a number of years back. But this film, Kane Parsons, you got Chiwetel Ejiofor, Renée Rensev, and Mark Duplass, which I've seen a lot of chatter about, like, oh, Kane Parsons, he's a 20-year-old. He had a lot of, like, different higher-ups or different people on set that he could be more authoritative and kind of help guide the production. Did Kane Parsons really direct this film? I saw Mark Duplass kind of put out a video or a statement being like, yes, he directed this fucking movie. We were all on set, and he didn't need us on set. He could handle it himself, which I think that was a really good kind of vote of confidence from, yeah, hey, I'm a cast member, this is a movie I'm in, but also, no, this guy is real shit. Like, he can make a good movie. And do we get that with this movie? I think so. I think it was a really a fun movie that makes me want to go back into a lot of those Backrooms web series clips that you talked about, ones that I haven't seen. I really enjoyed kind of the approach and the story that they pad out with the characters. It's not like the most deep dive thing. I didn't know, and it sounds like from what you brought up with those footage or found footage clips and the YouTube shorts, that it's something that's built by a company and not something that's necessarily discovered, like this concept of the Backrooms.
It kind of, from what I understand, like the thing I like about the series a lot too, and the movie, is that they don't really give you concrete answers about what it is. So like, from my understanding, the company kind of created this threshold and like wanted more storage space. One of them is like a promo video of like a company being like, yeah, we can store everything in here, and it's like in this little space. But it sounds like the Backrooms kind of build off of themselves and like expand and learn more.
Yeah, which you kind of get even in like that, I think, first initial trailer where it was Chiwetel Ejiofor's voiceover being like, it's like a room's memory of a thing or a memory of a place. This place remembers things, and I really dug, like I said, what they did with the characters around it, because going into it, I didn't know really what to expect in terms of like what each character was going through. I thought that those were kind of interesting attempts, and a lot of characters dealing with regret or just kind of issues that they've had in their own personal lives of like a failing marriage and now maybe a dwindling career in this furniture shop, and Renee Rentsev is this therapist who's trying to help give potential solutions to Chiwetel Ejiofor and his struggling issues with his marriage and the repercussions of it. I think they had a great setup story-wise to get them both characters that I'm caring about, characters I'm interested in and seeing the outcomes of, and getting them to the Backrooms. And that initial discovery of Chiwetel Ejiofor going in or venturing in, and just the initial awe and like not knowing what he's finding and just kind of stumbling into stuff, and his thought process as he's venturing down into the Backrooms. And when he leaves, he takes a stool with him just to be like, is this tangible? Is this a real thing? Can I bring it with me? And I just liked, while they give you a good kind of basis for the story and for what these characters are going through, I like that they don't over-explain. I like that they leave things kind of up in the air, and that they represent or bring in, I'm guessing, whatever this, I forget what the company's name
Async.
is. Async. Bring them in, and Mark Duplass's character comes in with that as well. And you know that this is somewhat of a known, while it's hush-hush, a known commodity of these Backrooms. I like that they don't over-explain it. They're still, like, feeling it out. Like, you don't know, like, it's something still to be studied. And Mark Duplass's character brings that aspect to it, where it's like, we don't know. How are you being affected by this? And seeing the repercussions of someone having a presence in the Backrooms, and then the Backrooms taking, even if it was a short or a long instance, that person was there, and running with it and developing it into something, or like a monster, or like kind of regurgitating like a memory of a piece of furniture, or kind of its own molding of what each character is going through. I really appreciated, like, some of the best parts of this movie are just them exploring and not knowing. And that, like, this isn't a movie that relies on jump scares, really. I really appreciated that. It's just uneasiness throughout. I think it's really well shot. I believe, since it's coming from Kane Parsons, that it feels basically one-to-one to, like, a lot of the shorts that were put out on YouTube, where it's eerie and uncomfy, and existing in this like transitional space that we almost feels like it shouldn't be known. We shouldn't have found it. Like, this is a secret. This is a peek behind the curtain that we shouldn't have ever found. Yeah. And I really appreciate that. I think that this was not a blow your socks off amazing hit best horror film ever made, but I think this is a really, really solid, borderline, like, almost great movie to me. I don't really have a lot of issues. I think maybe in the third act you'll lose me a little bit. Sometimes we over-explain things with characters, and sometimes we leave things a little bit too vague. I'm like, it kind of, like, it doesn't feel like it hits, like, a fitting ending to me. And I know Kane Parsons has brought up, like, that this is an unfinished entity, this Backrooms, whether it's continued on in movies or YouTube shorts or whatnot. This story of the Backrooms isn't necessarily done. He has more in mind. He mentioned, I think I saw in an interview where he's like, I have, like, the ending built out, and I started with that point, and I've built backwards from it, so I know where it leads, and we haven't gotten there yet. So I don't know if I need another Backrooms movie, but I did really appreciate and really like this movie, and I thought it was a great watch. My wife was stressed the entire time. I was stressed for the majority of the time too, so I really was not like blown away, but I was really surprised by the efforts, and I think this is a very enjoyable horror film this year.
Yeah, and we'll, in a second, maybe get into some spoilers just in that third act, because I also have a couple issues with that. But I think a majority of this movie works great. The opening sequence before we get the title is essentially just kind of another short, which is great, of one of these Async employees just going through. Thinks like he finds a radio, and then he's walking through and just sees shit like melting on the walls, and like from the furniture store, just like half of a banner, but it's backwards. Like, that's perfect. Like, sees a random bird flying through. That's great shit. Like, that's exactly what I loved about the series. But then, the two, it's kind of interesting of transitioning it to a movie now, where it's like the web series isn't about characters or story. It's just really concept. It's just the idea of it, and you're just watching these people go through it. So when you add in these new characters, it's kind of a new vibe. And Chiwetel Ejiofor, where there's a great therapy scene early on in the movie where him and Renata Reinsva, who is the therapist in this movie, where he's just kind of doing a role play thing of like his wife, when she kicked him out of their house and their marriage is breaking down, and you kind of mentioned too of being like working at this furniture store when he wants to be an architect, like all this type of stuff, and you care for him. You're like, you're just kind of down on your luck, and I agree that once he goes into the back rooms and just initially like goes through the wall and is like testing shit and then just exploring, that's what I love. Like that's what Backrooms. That's why people love it so much. And there's also a great scene of him bringing in a couple of coworkers from the store, played by Finn Bennett and Lakita Maxwell. When it's a great kind of smart thing to do, where Finn Bennett brings in a camera, so it kind of gets back to that camcorder type filming aspect. And they're just like walking through, and some of the creepiest shit in this movie is in that sequence when there's like a slope or like a hill that they kind of go down, and like Finn Bennett goes down there at first, and he's like, there's just like laundry down here, and it's just kind of fucking weird. Yeah. Like they try and pull him up, and then someone pulls him back down. They all go back down. They get separated.
Some of the biggest scares, or the most freaked out I've been in the movie, was during that aspect.
Yeah, so that probably was my favorite like chunk of the movie, just seeing all that. And then it kind of does shift at that point to Renata Reinsve, who again plays the therapist, and you get more like backstory with her too, with when she was a kid and her mom was like very paranoid and like wouldn't let anybody in the house.
Agoraphobic.
Yeah, and then like the government or whoever came and like possessed the house or repossessed the house, whatever. And so you get like some good backstory with her as well, and then she kind of becomes our main character at a certain point once the crew goes down there. And maybe we'll get into a little bit of spoilers now, just as the capper on my generic thoughts. I agree, I really like this movie. It's so cool. It's very impressive from a 19, 20-year-old director making this movie. It builds on the kind of backstory a little bit of the shorts, but just go see this movie. It's really cool. But yeah, getting into some spoilers now. When Renata Reinsve becomes the main character, it was kind of interesting because I was really tracking with Clark. I think the main character, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Yeah. It's easier to say his name than their actors' names every time. Clark is the main character, and then we kind of shift over to the therapist, and this is when I was like, okay, that's an interesting choice to kind of abandon what we've been building for this movie. Mm-hmm. And I really like her, again, just exploring the back rooms. And then we get to a kitchen scene where she kind of gets captured by Clark, and then there's really weird, just, again, kind of uncanny valley, like people with like 6 eyes and like 3 mouths.
Like a whole face that's glitching, basically.
Yeah. One dude that's like, you can just take out chunks of his stomach and eat it.
Yeah, it's just foam. Just like styrofoam.
It's like, oh, dinner, here you go.
Yeah, it's like, it's good.
It's great. And I think the scene is good. It really is kind of it's a callback to that therapy scene. And I thought it worked. I thought it was good still. But that's when it started to not feel as much of a Backrooms movie, where it felt like this is still a good movie and there's creepy stuff. But it kind of goes into this third act where a big, I don't know necessarily how they did it, but CGI-looking pirate Clark, from the furniture store commercials, where he starts chasing Renata Reinsve throughout the back rooms. And to me, it turned into a bit more of just, like, generic slasher movie of, like, the villain just chasing you through a place. I'm like, oh, okay, I can see him right there. That's not what made the back rooms creepy to me, was, like, somebody, like, you can see the person. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Where is this? Which hallway am I going down? And it leads into her, she gets found by the Async team, and she's talking with Mark Duplass. I do love the ending shot of this movie. I think it's fucking perfect. Of Renata Reinsve, she's like talking to Mark Duplass, and like, seemingly gonna be returned to the main world, whatever. But then you just see one of the rooms in the back rooms, and it's her face, but it's again just like a couple mouths and eyes, and she's just like sitting there, like as it is layers down in the back rooms. Awesome ending shot. I love that. But just that last chunk where it was still a good movie, but not a great Backrooms movie to me. Yeah,
it kind of breaks away, and it felt like in that moment, which I really like that scene because it feels like Texas Chainsaw. Like it feels like the dinner scene in that, where Mary Reinsve's character is kind of being subjected to this weird addiction that Clark has developed with the Backrooms and understanding, which I liked that kind of development throughout the movie. I think that was done really well. All of the stuff in this movie did not feel like it was done by a feature directorial effort from a director. Like, this doesn't feel like a first-time director. This feels like someone that's really comfortable within the story he's telling, and it felt like some things are really confidently framed. There's a lot of, like, that therapy scene you brought up, it's just so well helmed, and it may seem basic of just, like, like holding on a long shot of a character just basically going through an argument, but it just screams confidence that they don't think that they have to cut back and forth or do too much. Like, it's very subtle and it works really well. And then getting back to that dinner scene, it does feel a little bit like Texas Chainsaw, which I liked, but that's when it kind of bleeds away from what you're talking about, the Backrooms mythology, and gets more into like how I feel they felt they needed to wrap up a Backrooms movie, or it felt like they needed to have like a big climactic kind of moment with a entity, with a villain of the Backrooms, or a monster of the Backrooms, which it like worked to a degree, but as you kind of see more and more of Pirate Clark kind of roaming around, and which is played by Robert, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Robert Bobrovsky. He played the tall alien in Alien Romulus at the very end. He's playing the pirate here, and after you see that presence, it kind of is like diminishing returns every time you see it. It gets less and less scary, which like that Backrooms is just meant to be uneasy and make you uncomfortable. And it lulls you into nostalgia while also just putting things a little bit on edge of like, well, that doesn't make sense, or that's not right. Or like, how would I have access to this room? Stuff like that. So I also, you brought it up, I love what they did with Mary's character, the therapist, and how they harken back to her upbringing and her living with her mother, who likely had some sort of anxiety disorder or agoraphobia and was afraid of the outside, or really maybe possibly schizophrenic and worried that she's being watched, and what that did to the inside of their home, and how it feels one in one to like what Backrooms looks like. So when Renat Reinsev is going through the Backrooms, she's like, oh, this reminds me of home in a weird, scary, fidgety way. But yeah, it is a great ending shot. I think a lot of that works really well. I love Mark Duplass in this movie. I love Mark Duplass and everything he's in. When he shows up, it's like, oh, there, my friend. My friend's here. So I really liked him. I really like the score. It's really subtle, but it works. Like, I think that this movie, like, it doesn't like shit the bed at the end in the 11th hour. Like, it's still a decent enough ending. It just feels a little bit more conventional. Overall, I was so impressed by the performances. I was impressed by the confidence of Kane Parsons behind the helm. I think like I said, the performances are great. Everything works so well to create a cohesive world of the Backrooms. And I don't know if I need like sequels to this movie, just because it feels like another contrivance of like, how are you going to develop a character and put him in this situation or put him in this newfound area. I did like the note on how they ended the film, like towards like those last 5 minutes before you get that last shot of like Mark Duplass just being like, all right, what did you see? Tell us. Because it's like, they don't fucking know what's going on. They're still trying to understand. And I like that just uncertainty with it. Like, if they knew everything about it, I would be like, oh, this is the Duffer Brothers writing about the Upside Down or some shit like that. This felt so like, we did something. Don't know what the fuck any of this is about. Help us figure it out. And I like Mary's uncertainty of like, what happens now? What's my tomorrow look like? I've been subjected and submitted to some really crazy shit. Am I free to go? Even like, what's going on? So I really appreciated this movie. I think it was really well paced. I was never really bored. If anything, and this might be not like an error or an issue with the actual movie itself, it's more just like, I want to spend more time in the Backrooms. I want to see more weird shit. So now I'm probably going to watch a lot of these shorts this week. So I think that this movie, for especially being a feature directorial effort, a rousing success. The amount of money it's likely going to make its opening weekend, a rousing success. So thank you for the directors of Obsession and Backrooms. And Andre Overdahl, I know you tried with Passenger. I didn't like that movie, but like, I like all the horror we're getting right now.
Damien McCarthy with Hokum.
I like that horror is having a big moment. We're having good performances in them. And they're also really well-made movies for the most part. Obviously, I'm not mentioning like Scream 7 or Whistle, but there's some really well-made horror films. I'm like, Academy, you got to pay attention to some of this shit because this is some of the best writing we're seeing this year. And also the fact that it's going toe-to-toe with some bigger, more sexier genre appeal like Star Wars and stuff like that. I'm really impressed by this movie and happy and satisfied as a horror fan of both this, Obsession, and just Hokum, everything that we've had the beginning part of this year for horror.
To make a very maybe weird comparison, you brought up Star Wars, Mandalorian and Grogu, we talked about last week. but sort of in a similar trajectory as far as like the movies where they are coming off of being based on TV shows.
Yeah.
And I think this movie struggles a little bit with that adaptation to the big screen as well, because I think that if you just split this movie up into like, you know, a bunch of different shorts, I think it would work really well.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Backrooms succeeds the most, is those little snippets where it doesn't have to make sense. You don't need a character arc really. Although I think that like the arcs in this movie for Clark and for Mary, like just the mental health of these two characters and finding kind of a comfort a little bit, you mentioned in the Backrooms, and how it's terrifying at first, but then once, like Clark especially, when he goes down there, he's like, this is my home now.
Yeah.
I feel good here.
He's like, oh yeah, you can hang out with him, you can eat this. That she just stands there sometimes. Yeah, she's fine. She doesn't do anything.
My old coworker's head is in the fridge.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, we don't eat that. We just leave that.
Yeah, we just leave that there. So like I think all that worked well, but it is just kind of a thing where I think it was maybe a little bit challenging just to try and make it into a feature film, because you have to add characters. It's just, you can't do just a POV of a character you don't know for an hour and 50 minutes, really. But even though I'm really happy that we don't have more answers, I didn't want anything like solved in this movie.
No.
Like, what is the Backrooms and how does it end, and who created it and who did all this?
Backrooms explained. Like,
yeah,
no,
right.
Don't fucking do that. There's no point in it.
I didn't want that, but I did want a little bit more of like Mark Duplass and the Async, the company, because it really is just like a shot that I really love after that opening scene where you see the footage of the employee walking through, and then the footage cuts out and you just see like 4 scientists just like watching the TV, and then it cuts.
Honestly the scariest aspect of that.
Like, that's terrifying. That works so well in the shorts, so I just, not that I wanted more answers with that, but I wanted more of like the scientist part of it, because you'll see scenes from the shorts where it's just like they're watching security camera footage and like doing experiments and shit, which is really creepy.
And I guess they could have explored that a little bit more, because they're kind of a presence. It kind of feels like an afterthought, and it's when they're brought in, it's never like fully acknowledged until Mark Duplass has maybe like 2 sentences of saying like, hey, like bare bones Spark Notes, this is what we are, this is what we're doing, and it's still like, okay, I feel like we could have had a better kind of introduction to this. But again, I like the vagueness, and I kind of agree with you. It coincides with me not necessarily needing another Backrooms movie. I think that this does a good enough job and is really satisfying. But again, it's just going to be the same story. It's just going to be random characters discovering the back, like what and. What, they go into the Backrooms. I don't need to explore everything. I don't need to understand everything. Where do I want to? Because the moment you do that, boom, it's not scary and I don't care. Like, I don't need a diagnosis of what actually is going on or what's at the middle of all this or what's going on. Like, I think that this is similar to what you said. It could play out almost in shorts and it would work just as well. But I think still, this being my exposure to Backrooms mostly, it worked. And it intrigued me, and it unsettled me, and it got me some really unnerving moments. That moment where they're venturing down into that corridor with the dirty laundry, I'm like, ooh,
gross,
greasy. That probably smells like shit down there. And then it was terrifying. But a little bit of diminishing returns once you start to see some of like the monsters that they establish within the Backrooms, which I'm like, I feel like if we kept it more in shadow or kept it more to the side or let things kind of hide in the corners and let them just kind of seep out. I don't need a pinnacle, pivotal ending villain or a monster.
Yeah, and that's what they do in the shorts. I think, I'm still very new to this, but I think people refer to this thing that pops up in the shorts as like the life form or the bacteria, where it's like a very tall, skinny, like kind of just like black figure where it's walking around, and that'll be like where people hear voices and they're calling them like, oh wait, we need to save this person. And then they go and it's just this thing that's like fucking spaghetti arms and around, and it's fucking terrifying. But you just see like a glimpse of it around the corner, or like somebody has their camera on it and quickly moves it away. So, yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of in lockstep with this one, where it's a really good movie. This is such an impressive movie, again, from a new director, and translating the shorts and the idea, I think it works for the most part. I think the character arcs work for me throughout the movie. Even if the movie isn't a perfect Backrooms movie, I think it is a really good movie, just horror movie overall. So definitely go check it out. I'd maybe recommend not watching the shorts beforehand if you've never seen them, and have this be your first exposure. I think you may enjoy it just a tad more, not having that background to this, but still really cool and just fun to dive into that this week, and something that I really wasn't aware of at all.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good entry point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you need to do the homework. If anything, this makes me want to do the homework.
Right.
So I'm excited.
Yeah. So go check out Backrooms. Go see Obsession if you haven't seen it. They're both doing great at the box office. That's exciting to see. Moving into the big TV release of this week. We're always really bad at previewing TV shows that are coming out.
Yeah.
But the big one this week was Spider-Noir, which is from Oren Uziel is the showrunner on it. And it is a Spider-Man-centered show that has Nicolas Cage in the lead role as Ben Reilly playing Spider-Man Noir. And it's not exactly the same character from the Spider-Verse movies that Nicolas Cage also voiced. One of the funniest parts of Into the Spider-Verse, just all of his lines coming in so like serious and dark and noir, obviously. Because he's Peter Parker in the Spider-Verse movies, so I don't think it's the exact same character. I don't know, it's multiverse shit gets weird, and I don't really know. But anyways, he's playing Ben Reilly here, and it takes place in 1930s New York, and he is a private investigator who is kind of dealing with the mob bosses and the crime lords of New York City at the time. I love this show. This was so cool. I think a couple, maybe months ago, weeks ago, I don't know, we talked about the trailer for this show, and I was kind of hesitant because I'm like, man, it would be cool to just do an animated like Spider-Man Noir thing. I feel like you can do more with it, and you wouldn't have to have Nicolas Cage like running around doing action and in a live action series. But I was proved wrong. Like this works really well, and really the interesting thing about it on the first point is just that you can watch it in either authentic black and white or in the true hue full color. And I chose to watch it in black and white because I just love noir stories and noir movies. And the color version, from what I've seen, like it's super vibrant and pops, and it looks really good. So I may even like watch the show again in color just because I'm interested to see what pops in that version of it.
Go episode to episode, change back and forth maybe.
Yeah, can do that too.
I might do that.
It gives you the choice when you start every episode, either black and white or color, which I don't know that any show I've seen that with before. Like movies, you can obviously, there's some that you can do black and white or color, but it was really just a kind of unique thing with it. And the thing I love most about it is Nicolas Cage. And not just because I've been compared to him before by every human that meets me on Earth, I guess.
I still think you look like white Ludacris.
I've had people consistently, it's like every other week somebody's like, white Ludacris. Even
that makes me happy. I like that one's gaining traction.
Yeah, at work the other day, like, somebody heard it and they're like, oh yeah, you do. And then everybody gathered around and pulled up a picture of Ludacris. Like, come stand by the picture of him and look. And they're like, oh, it's your nose. Oh, it's your mouth. It's your cheekbones. I'm like, you're all saying different parts.
So I look like him.
Like, all right, I still don't see it, but whatever. I also get the chef from Ratatouille. I don't know if I see that one. Maybe it's the nose. I don't know. Something.
Linguini?
Linguini. Yeah, because Remy's the rat. So, yeah, Linguini, I guess.
The
fucking rat.
Sorry.
But, anyways, that's what I get compared to in life. But Nicolas Cage is really great in this show as Ben Reilly. It kind of has a little Jessica Jones feel to it with the private investigator and just figuring out, taking on a case. And this is just a perfect marriage of an actor in a role and writers that understand the tone of the show and how to write for that actor just perfectly. Because Nicolas Cage, I feel like he gets a lot of people make memes about him and they're like, oh, he's so over the top and eccentric. Dude gives 110% in every single thing he's in. You can't say that about everybody. Even some of the best actors of all time, they're in a lesser movie, they phone it in a little bit. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Nicolas Cage is always giving it his all. And I appreciate that so much about him. And here he is having so much fun doing the 1930s voice and the transatlantic accent. And he even like plays on that a little bit in the show too and does a more exaggerated version of it. It's so much fun to watch him just be this private eye. And he's really kind of working against Brendan Gleeson, who plays the villain Silvermane in this movie, or in the show. And he's kind of got his little kind of crew. And some of them are... I like the way they do it, where it's like you have a tombstone, you have Megawatt, I think it is, kind of like an electro type thing. And then you have, what the fuck's the other one? You have Sandman also, played by Jack Houston, and their powers are not like, Spider-Man 3 Sandman. It's more subdued a little bit, but just his little cronies running around and these little fights that they have, and the action is really fun in here. It's not a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but when he is swinging around the city and when he is putting on like the goggles and the white eyes popping through and the black and white, looks really good. Lamorne Morris, who you may know as Winston from New Girl, fantastic in this. He plays Robbie Robertson, a reporter, and he's doing just he's so funny, just naturally. Like, I love Lamorne Morris so much. I wish he was in more stuff. But this was just such a surprise for me because it really dives into, how this version, this kind of variant, I guess if you want to call it that, of Spider-Man Noir, got his powers back in the war, and he comes back and dealing with the loss of his wife and how he's kind of moving through that, and he meets kind of a new girl played by Lee Jun Lee. Some of the love triangle in this show moves really quickly through some things, especially in the back few episodes, where it didn't feel like it was all necessary all the time. Also, the Tombstone, Lonnie Lincoln, I think is his name, but his arc moves a little bit quick too, and it kind of jumps rapidly from time to time. So those are like my only little flaws with it, but it was such a surprise. Like I said, I really liked watching it. It looks absolutely beautiful in black and white. Obviously the noir feel to it. There's some Dutch angles, and even aside from just looking like it feels like a noir show in its investigative plot and all that stuff. So I'd recommend this one a lot. It's on Amazon Prime right now. You can actually watch the first episode if you don't have Amazon Prime. You can watch it for free, and if you like it, then you can buy Amazon Prime and get it for a month and watch through this if you want to. So it's really cool. I hope we get another season of it. We'll see, if he pops up in Beyond the Spider-Verse or something, if there's a reference to it next year. But really, really enjoyed Spider-Noir.
Yeah, this is something I didn't watch at all this week. It really snuck up on me. I've seen a lot of ads and a lot of trailers, and I just kind of tuned that shit out when, like, I watch a lot of movies. I watch some TV at least. I kind of tune it out. It's like, I know when it's coming out. This came out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, that is right now. Oh, and I don't love that Amazon Prime is like, oh, all 8 episodes, here they are. It's like, oh, I have so much homework. But I'm really excited, and especially I've heard nothing but great things about it. I think I will, as someone who's going to go into it just watching it for the first time, I might operate on like a back and forth between black and white and full color just to kind of get that experience, or at least for those first 2 episodes to see if I have a preference, which automatically seeing Spider-Man in the Across the Spider-Verse films, I want it to be that black and white experience. I also just like that this feels like it's going to exist kind of, at least from what I know, separate. It's just its own little fucking, I'm going to drink egg creams and fight Nazis. Like, let me just fuck around. Like, Nicolas Cage's Spider-Man is the most crazy idea I've ever heard. And this it just could work so perfectly. So I can't wait to sit down and watch this. Maybe by next week, honestly, by the end of the night tonight, I'd like to have a couple episodes underneath my belt just to be kind of somewhat in the know-how of how good this is done and the appeal of this show, just because I've heard nothing but good things already. It's
very refreshing as a superhero project in an age when we have so much stuff. Yeah. Just one last point. There's a great scene when he is just drunk at a bar, and it's just Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly, and then these guys are just chirping him in there. He goes outside, puts on the Spider-Man mask, comes back in, and just starts fucking him up in the same clothes, but just with the mask. It is such a fun scene.
That is just perfect superhero shit. I love it when like a superhero's in a bar in like regular garb, and they're just like, you know what? I don't have to take this. I can fuck you up right now.
No, what? Fuck it.
Because like you get like the scenes of like noble Superman, like someone pouring a pitcher of beer on his boots, and he's like, I can't, because I'd kill him. It's like you can punch him a little bit,
rough him up a little bit here.
Yeah. So it's homework for me, and it's a TV show that I am actually really excited to sit down and watch. So I might try and make that be my homework going through this upcoming week. A couple of movies that I was able to catch up on this week. Granted, I've been sick. Me and my wife finally moved into our house. Things are settling a little bit, even though we have like absolutely no furniture in our living room. That's fine. I was able to go to the theater 3 times this week. once for Backrooms, which I brought my wife to. I was also able to sucker my wife into seeing another movie with me this week, and maybe because it was Keke Palmer, that was an easier sell, but I finally got to see I Love Boosters, which is directed by Boots Riley, director of the film Sorry to Bother You, I believe from either 2019 or 2018.
18, I think.
2018. Holy shit. I love that movie. I think that is one of my favorite movies of the last decade. I love Sorry to Bother You. It's such a refreshing, just imaginative movie that just scours and skewers everything about just kind of race relations and just the way people are represented and how they're just like, oh, that's how I perceive you, or use your white voice on the phone and stuff like that. I think that the movie's really fun, really interesting, and really just, I don't know, impactful. This movie, also kind of knowing how Boots Riley directs, I was excited. I'm like, this is going to be something nutty. And I Love Boosters is so whimsical and fun at times, outright disgusting and vulgar at times, and similar to Sorry to Bother You, where in like the final 30 minutes to 45 minutes of the film, you get hit with like something so fucking wild, it's either gonna completely ruin the movie for you, or you gotta be like, alright, buckled in, take me on this ride, whatever the fuck is going on, I'm on for it, like, let's go. This movie does that too. Like I said, it does have Keke Palmer, it's got Lakeith Stanfield, it's got Taylor Page, Demi Moore, Adam Devine. Adam Devine's very small role, but Demi Moore and Keke Palmer, they're kind of butting heads, as Keke Palmer is the lead of this group of shoplifters that takes aim at this cutthroat fashion maven, played by Demi Moore, by stealing her clothes, her specific brand of clothes from stores, and reselling them at a lower price, what they call fashion-forward philanthropy, and trying to undermine her, because Keke Palmer, she's a creative, she wants to be a stylist, and she wants to design clothing, but she doesn't have like the background to really kind of put her up into a situation where that is an actual option or an opportunity for her. So she's doing what she can to make money. She's doing her side hustles. It reminded me a lot of One of Them Days, another Keke Palmer's film, which I really love, which I actually, while you were talking about Spider-Man Noir, and I didn't want to hear too much about it, I just bought on Blu-ray. So
One of Them Days you bought?
Yeah, I love that movie.
There you go.
But Keke Palmer, she's fantastic in this. She's the head of this group trying to make ends meet, make money. She's living in like a rundown chicken shop, like almost like a Chick-fil-A Popeyes, and she's just like, there's no food here. It's just run down. This is where I can house all the shit that I'm trying to like sell and get off the streets. So I really liked her dynamic. Boots Riley directs films in like a way that Wes Anderson meets fucking Spike Lee meets NC-17 at times. Like, it's just some of the most wild, wacky shit. Sometimes it's really whimsical and goofy and fun, and it's like them running through an obvious set where like the background's shifting, or like just like stop motion work that's really like kitschy and like a little glitchy, and it works so well. So I love Boots Riley. I will see anything that this director makes. I am so invested in his films. They're just so fun, and they're interesting, and they show me things that I wouldn't expect. Like Lakeith Stanfield being a devil, a demon, and plug your ears if you're older than the age of 50 and you're related to me, eating pussy in a way that's spraying liquids across the fucking room. Like, it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. And I know the moment that movie came up, or that scene came up in the movie, I was like, oh my god, my wife feels sick to her stomach. And then after it, she was like, that made me feel sick to my stomach. I'm like, I know you. But this movie is bonkers. I will say, like, I don't have really much in terms of negatives. I think you have to really know what you're getting yourself into, because it's going to be some wild shit. It's really fun. It's spastic. It's vibrant. It has some interesting kind of commentary on, like, the fashion industry. Not in the same way that Devil Wears Prada does. It's more of just like, hey, isn't it weird that this brand, because it's this brand, can sell it for $1,000, but this brand sells it the exact same thing for $20? But everyone wants that because it's the logo. And just talking about that and how it kind of relates to race and stuff in America, I really appreciated this. I will say, Lakeith Stanfield, while I did just bring up that he's a pussy-eating demon that can only suck souls from people by eating their genitals, that part gets really cartoony and wacky, which I appreciate. But also, you could cut that completely out of the movie. It doesn't really change a thing. I like Lakeith Stanfield a lot. I loved him in Sorry to Bother You. I love him in everything he's in. He's almost always a great addition to a cast because he's going to give you a great performance. But I think his character, or that aspect of the script, that you could have reined that in. You could have taken that out. Not that I was offended by anything. That was a fun scene and a weird scene to watch. I never thought I'd see that in a movie. Really appreciated it, but also his character, aside from that scene, aside from some really out there moments, he didn't really contribute much to the story, so I'm like, yeah, you could probably take that out. So that'd be like honestly my only lone negative to this movie. It was so spastic, so fun. Keke Palmer, I don't even like. It's not even a celebrity crush. I just want to be friends with you.
Yeah,
like holy
cool.
shit, she's so cool. Like what? True Jackson VP, that was her growing up, I think. So I don't know. I love Keke Palmer. She's fantastic. I couldn't get enough of this movie, so I definitely recommend it. But definitely know what you're getting yourself into because it gets fucking wild. Don't bring your grandparents to this. Don't see it with your family. It gets so fucking weird.
I'm excited to see this one. I haven't checked it out yet. There's just been a lot of stuff. Busy summer, obviously. I may try and still check it out in theaters while it's there because I like Sorry to Bother You. I don't think as much as you where like I love the most of it, and then that third act happens, and I'm like,
it takes you.
I appreciate that it's weird, and I get it, but I don't love it as much. I love the 2/3 of that movie a lot. So definitely kind of having those expectations going in, I think will help when I do eventually watch this movie.
I will say the heel turn or the appearance of horse people in Sorry to Bother You comes a little bit more out of left field than what is established in this movie. This one I felt like it's still out there, but it fits kind of within the story a little bit seamlessly or a little bit better than Sorry to Bother You. So I think that late reveal kind of works, and it gets really goofy and whimsical with like stop motion, and I like that. But like I said, the Lakeith Stanfield aspect, that story aspect, I'm like, you don't need this. You could take this out and it doesn't change much. It's just there. But there's also some like emotionally moving moments of just how people handle kind of insurmountable odds, or what they see to be insurmountable odds, of just like a stockpile of all the shit they have to deal with, and it looking so big, but when they get up to it, it's actually not that bad. So I really like this movie. I found it to be relatable, even as someone who's not interested in fashion. Obviously, look at me. Not interested or knows anything about fashion, doesn't know anything about this lifestyle, knows nothing about being black in America, obviously, because again, look at me, I'm the color of sour cream. But I really love this movie. It was so fun and really just refreshing. Again, Spike Lee meets Wes Anderson and a little bit of NC-17 on top, so I don't mind that at all. One of my favorites, easily, of this year. I also saw The Sheep Detectives, which, if you were going to ask me if I was ever going to see this movie based on the trailers, fuck no, I was never going to see this movie. This movie looked so wacky and stupid. But, and also coming from the director of Minions and Despicable Me 3, which, not the best animated movies, but alright, fine. It's got a stacked cast, most of it being a voice cast. We got Hugh Jackman in a somewhat leading role, even though his character kind of bites the bullet early on. You got Bryan Cranston, Emma Thompson, Brett Goldstein, Patrick Stewart, Regina Hall, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. A lot of huge heavy hitters for this voice cast. And it's about a shepherd that reads books, murder mysteries typically, to his flock of sheep, his herd of sheep.
Good.
And they understand it. And then when he dies, when the shepherd played by Hugh Jackman passes away, they were like, this something smells hinky. This is a murder. We're going to crack it because we know everything about murder mysteries because that's all he read to us. And I remember just thinking that the trailer played like an SNL skit. And then hearing great things about this movie, about people being like, this is one of the best movies of the year. Went and saw it. This movie's one of the best movies of the year. Like 100%. It's in my top 5 of 2026 of the 30-odd something movies that I've seen this year so far. It plays like a Paddington film. It's very charming. Not that people understand what these sheep are saying, but it's almost like, what's like the dog's like exploring and venturing on with a cat. It's like an old 90s animated movie. Not animated, it's live action, but the dogs speak. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Homeward Bound?
Homeward Bound! Homeward fucking Bound!
Nice.
It's similar to that. Thank you for getting
Second
that.
one's Lost in San Francisco.
Lost in San Francisco. I was not going to get there, so thank you. But it kind of plays like Homeward Bound, where it's just these animals have the capability of speaking to each other and you can understand them, but people don't. I thought the cast was really likable, and it's, for being a movie that is definitely geared towards families and younger audiences, I was surprised at how emotionally heavy-hitting this could be, how dark it gets at times. It talks a lot about death in a really, like, sweet way, and there's a lot of good humor in it, too. There's aspects where, like, they're sheep. They can forget things, and there's an aspect to these sheep that are like, hey, everyone in the flock, on the count of 3, we all are going to forget this one thing that happened. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And then they don't remember it. And it's like, well, that's efficient. So they use that a couple times. It's really funny. It works really well. But there's just a lot of different dynamics between these sheep trying to figure out, obviously, what happened to Hugh Jackman's character. But also just, like, hey, how do we accept one another as sheep? Which is a weird thing for me to say just in a sentence at all. But it works so well. It's charming. It's an hour. I want to say it's like an hour and 50 minutes. Like an hour, 110 minutes. It's a little long at times, where I'm like, okay, I feel like we can get to places quicker. I will say there's an aspect to the mystery of like the whodunit, who did the murder, who's behind all this that I did guess. There's another part that I didn't guess, and I was surprised by it. I'm like, that works really well. I never would have gotten that. So I think this is a good little murder mystery, a really refreshing family movie that has more to it than just, hey, let's entertain the kids and make them laugh, which you might lose some of the kids in some of the aspects because the pacing does get a little bit long at times. There's some kids at the screening that I was at that were, you could tell, noticeably kind of like, all right, what's next? What can we do? Oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Well, let's go get popcorn right now. It's just like, that's fine. But for being an adult seeing this kid's movie, I was really kind of surprised. And I think that this is, again, one of the better movies of 2026. And for being a family film, it's probably the best family film I've seen this year. So I definitely recommend, The Sheep Detectives? Which, again, the title, that cardboard cutout of the theater, I see that, I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I believe that this was written from a script by Craig Mazin.
Yeah.
Which is wild, but it makes sense because it's really well written and it works. So definitely go check out The Sheep Detectives. I'm a little late to it. It's like 3 weeks since it's been out. Really good movie. I'm surprised by it, and it's one of my favorites. If it's not in my top 10 by the end of this year, I will be surprised. I love this movie.
So you liked it more than Backrooms? I
did like it. So of the movies I saw this week, if I were to rank them, I would probably go... Backrooms would be last, not that it's bad. I almost said One of the Days. I Love Boosters. And then my favorite of this week was The Sheep Detectives, which I never would have fucking told you.
Crazy.
Never would have guessed.
Yeah.
I still want to see Is God Is, but they have cut down on the theater showings near us, so I'll have to maybe catch it on Apple TV or whatever it's on. So, but yeah, I had a great week. 3 movies at a theater, and never would have guessed that Sheep Detectives would have been my favorite one.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. Well, I've with all the horror movies we kind of talked about this month, May has been a great month for horror. I was kind of in the mood for watching something, and something that I own that actually Mason gave me like 2 years ago on Blu-ray was When Evil Lurks, a movie I had not seen before, and just been trying to work through a lot of movies that I have on Blu-ray and haven't seen, and just with horror stuff coming out, it worked out well. Came out in 2023, and it is like a Spanish film. And it's about kind of in this remote village where 2 brothers find this man that's been infected by a demon who's very just... It's like the in Seven when they find the big dude, the gluttonous dude or whatever. Yep. Yeah, it's sort of that type of deal. And they find out that he's about to give birth to evil itself, kind of a demon of sorts. And they try and get rid of the body, but kind of start spreading this demon and as it kind of transfers from person to person. And I thought this movie was really cool. I like... Something I really appreciate about international movies in general, but especially horror movies, is that they don't follow really a similar formula. Whereas, like, we see so many generic possession movies in America that feel all the same. Passenger, demon, possession movies, whatever you want to call them. International ones are very different, even if I don't love them, which is kind of where this movie falls in. But what I did really appreciate, a lot of the makeup and effects are really good in this movie, especially on that kind of bigger body. It's just like gross of like pus coming out, and he's just like, that is disgusting. They're like trying to move him, and he's just, the fat's rolling everywhere. You're like, God, this is fucking sick. I hate looking at this. I also like that they call like this kind of demon, it's sort of like a folklore thing. Yeah. They call it the Rotten, or like somebody's rotten throughout the town. I just kind of like that little note on there. But it's a good movie of these 2 brothers, and one of them is kind of more the main character, where he's dealing with like the consequences of choices he's made throughout his life, and this demon really preys on like regret and shame and fear that you have. So as the demon's kind of transferring through, there's a lot of very good sequences of kills in this movie, where kind of the first one is sort of this, like what's on the poster here, where like a husband is shooting a goat that the demon's transferred to. So he shoots the goat, wife immediately axes him in the head. She starts axing herself in the head until she's dead, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of the first like big kill scene of this movie. Yeah. And I appreciate that there's like rules within this movie of like what you can do, where they're like, all right, stay away from animals, like you can't, don't kill an animal with a gun, like electric lights, don't do that, like have candlelight, all this stuff. I like when there's little rules like that in horror movies. But there's some gory shit in this one. Right? Like there's a scene when a family's like arguing in a house and a dog is there. Again, back to the animals thing, and it's just like standing next to a little girl, and you're like, oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. And the dog just bites the girl and like takes her and drags her out into the street, and you're like, oh, that's disgusting. That's gross. And like, again, kind of something you may not see in an American movie, but in like this Mexican film, they're just like, fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. There's scenes where like people just running over their spouse with a truck, and just as they're possessed by this demon, obviously. Like a wife stepping off of a roof with a kid in her arms. An old woman just getting hit with a hammer. Like all types of gory
very
shit.
Brutal shit.
And very good. Again, back to the effects and like makeup work, like very good. And I do like the ending to this movie too, where it's kind of like, again, giving birth, and they're trying to find this demon to like stop it from giving birth, but it ends up happening, and it's just a very like weird, eerie scene that happens, and the main character just kind of has to like deal with it. It's like, fuck, we didn't stop it. Like, damn it, that sucks.
Yeah.
And just like living on with it. So, really like cool movie. I don't like. It's weird because I don't have a lot of big negatives with this movie. There's nothing that I was like, that's bad in here. But it didn't impact me as much as I know a lot of people when it came out really love this movie. Yeah. I think it's good. Again, international horror is really interesting to see. I think it's directed really well. Performances are good. Some of the kills are fun. Just not something that I would rewatch a lot, and not something in this kind of in the 2020s of horror. Not one of the standout horror movies, but still a really good one if you're looking for a different flavor to a horror film.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's like I can't tell you any of my negatives about this film. I've only seen it once, and I bought the Blu-ray, and I was like kind of unimpressed by it. Not that what you said in terms of positives are lost on me. I completely agree. Like the makeup, they're brutal. A lot of foreign language horror films are ballsy. At least a lot of the ones that like kind of make it through into like American audiences, they really work. They don't really, like you said, subject to a specific formula. It's just, this is a story. Let's figure it out. Here we go. Mm-hmm. And it gets really nutty, and I really appreciated that. But it just like, aside from that, I don't know. It ended, and I was like, yeah, okay. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy you finally watched it. I honestly, if anything, talking about it has made me kind of rewatch it to see if it's changed a little bit. But like the rotten, I remember some of those gruesome kills, especially the one that's on the cover of a lot of the posters, the axe, and it's just like hard to watch sometimes. But I do like a lot of brutal horror. I like the Terrifier movies, so which I know you don't. Which was really, this is a tangent. I really love the Terrifier movies, and I remember, was it Terrifier 2 that was coming out?
Yep.
And I was so excited. I wanted to go see it. And you're like, I'll go see it with you. And I'm like, have you seen the first one? You're like, no, I'll watch it, though. I'll watch it before. And then I think it was at Imagine Willow Creek. We went to go see Terrifier 2. And we were going into it. You walked up to me, and I was like, hey, like, did you watch the first one? You're like, yeah, I hated it. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, you're probably not going to like this. Like, we don't have to go see this. And you're like, no, I want to see it. Like, I want to go see it. And then we saw it, and you're like, yeah, I just don't think I like these movies.
The second one's the best of the three, I think, of Terrifier, speaking of that. I don't know. I think it's like 2, 3, and then 1, maybe. I don't know. They're just not for me. I just don't like, I don't know. They're just like gore and like...
nasty.
Just
like,
very nasty. Very it's very intentionally B-rate, horror movies. It's just not really my thing. But,
I love them.
I don't know.
But in terms of movies that we have coming out this week, which I completely forgot, again, these movies, which I've seen the trailers for 1,000 times, but now they're here, and I'm like, oh shit, that kind of snuck up on me. One, we got Masters of the Universe, coming from director Travis Knight, which in Travis we trust because he made Kubo and the Two Strings, one of Leica's best animated films they've put out, one of my favorite animated films I've seen in a long time, as well as kind of rehabilitating the Transformers franchise by putting out Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld. Honestly, arguably, maybe the best Transformers movie we've gotten so far. So I'm really excited about that film. I don't know much about the He-Man lore. I never watched the cartoon, but I think, especially with some of the more recent marketing, they've really leaned into, like, we're going to be campy. We're going to have fun with it. This is going to be He-Man, but, like, it's He-Man. Like, this guy wears, like, a pink blazer, and he's just a muscle man in, like, a leather tunic and has a sword and fights a big skeleton monster. Like, fuck it, let's ball. And I'm like, you know what? You sold me. So that movie, with every trailer, has really won me over. I trust Travis. I'm really excited for this movie, so we'll check that one out. Coming out this week. We also have Scary Movie. A return to form, it looks like, coming from the creators of the franchise, also directors of A Haunted House 1 and 2, which I know a lot of people love those movies. I've never heard anyone talk about those ever, actually.
Yeah, I haven't.
But the Scary Movie franchise is kind of nostalgic for a lot of people, at least I think our age and maybe a little bit older, but I really like the first two Scary Movies. As, like, Charlie Sheen came into the franchise and we get to the Scary Movie 3 and Lindsay Lohan's there, it's just like, it kind of lost me. It's kind of the same shtick. It does feel nostalgic seeing, like, the trailers, seeing the cast, and seeing the different types of new modern horror films they're going to try and skewer. Cool. Invested in that. Do I think this movie's going to be good? As good as any of the Scary Movies, which is not that good, but maybe I'll have a good couple of laughs. Who knows? So that is also coming out this week. We might check that one out. We also have Power Ballad coming from director John Carney, director of Once, Begin Again, Sing Street. Fuck.
Sling Street.
I almost said Sling Street. I almost said Sling Blade, which is not it. And then Sling Street, which is what I almost said. And then Sing Street, which is what it actually is. Sing Street's fucking phenomenal. I love that movie. This is starring Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas. I know the least about this movie than the other two. I'm going to read the synopsis because it's foreign to me. Rick, a washed-up wedding singer, and Danny, a fading boy band star, bond over music and a late-night jam session, which just feels like a little continuation of I Love You, Man with Paul Rudd. I love that.
Slap at the bass.
Slap at the bass, man. When Danny turns Rick's song into a hit, Rick sets out to reclaim the recognition he believes he deserves. I have not seen any trailers for this. I've heard very little to anything about this, so hey, maybe I'll try and sneak out to this one as well this upcoming week. But I'm really excited for Masters of the Universe. Scary Movie might be a little like, let's go check it out. Why not?
I think I've heard great things about Power Ballad. It's probably going to be the best of these three movies coming out this week. But I am going to watch the original Masters of the Universe with Dolph Lundgren. Never seen it before.
Bring back another Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, did it with
venture into
did it with Punisher. So do it with Masters of the Universe. I'm like,
I wonder if where that's streaming or where that's available. Maybe I'll check that.
I'll find it somewhere. But I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? Like, let's have fun and just dive into Masters of the Universe. Also going to watch through all the Scary Movies this week. As I tend to do. Much like you, I've seen like most of the first couple, just like so many bits and pieces here and there in little sections of the movies, but I haven't seen some of the later ones, like the fourth and fifth, maybe even the third one, I don't know. But I'm kind of excited to like just take a trip down memory lane there and check out some of those movies. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but like with Scary Movie not being Scary Movie 6 in the title, if it's like a play on, you know, like the Scream coming back or Halloween, shit like that, where it's like, it's not the sixth one, but it's a refresh.
It's coming back.
It's like, okay, whatever.
It works. I don't know. I don't love the franchise, but I'm at least interested in it. It looks like, Masters of the Universe 1987 is maybe available on Tubi TV for free.
Oh, perfect.
With Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella, which I've heard nothing but Frank Langella just being awesome and just ballsy and campy and having a good time, so I can't wait to check that out. Maybe you know what? I will submit to watching that this week and Spider-Noir, so I can at least comment on Spider-Noir, but also that we can both share in Dolph Lundgren 80s nostalgia before we see the new Masters of the Universe. Moving into physical media roundup, like I said, I bought one of them days literally while we were recording, and I'm excited to have that on Blu-ray because I really did love that movie from, I believe, last year. But Corey, anything new? What's coming out this upcoming week?
Got a few bigger things coming out. Hoppers is the big one, the latest Pixar movie. Very good. A really good movie. I enjoy that one a lot. Hope it sticks around like Oscar conversation. I'd like to see that get a nomination. I think it's worth it.
I think for Best Animation, I like that way more than I like Elio getting a Best nominee.
I think, Hoppers is better than Elio for sure.
Way better.
Protector, which is a Mila Jovovich movie, I think from this year, maybe? Or late last year?
No, it is. It is.
Was it this year?
I've seen this trailer way too recently.
Yeah, some of these kind of blend together. And then some older 4Ks coming out. We have Charade, The Flintstones, which I've actually never seen that, with John Goodman, and I really want to.
I love John Goodman. I'm a sucker for that. And that and what was the dinosaur show? Like, it feels very much of that era. I'm like, you know what? I'd fuck around and watch that. Yeah, so I might check that out at some point. Escape from LA on 4K, and then One Battle After Another. It had its main release, I think early this year maybe, but it's getting its 4K Steelbook, which is sold out everywhere, so that's going to be fun to try and find. But you got your kind of custom one. Yeah, I got my custom one, and I got it 2 weeks ago, and I've been meaning to bring it both this week and last week. So I'll bring it next week. I'll at least submit to that and bring that so we can at least show a Steelbook of One Battle After Another. It is a custom design by me with I don't even know if it was an official poster that was put out, but a poster I really dug. Used that as the canvas, and I like the result that I got with the steelbook. I'm a big fan of Masters of Steel steelbooks that I went through to get this made. It did take like 3 months, but I got it, and I'm excited about it. So I'll bring that next week to share.
Right on. Into some movie news. We had a couple trailers this week. One that I saw before Backrooms, another A24 movie, was Primetime, which is about Chris Hansen. You may know from To Catch a Predator, the Dateline show, which I feel like I don't even know if I've watched a full episode, but everyone just knows like
what it
To
is,
Catch a Predator. And Robert Pattinson is Chris Hansen. I think it's a really good trailer. I like the way it's cut together of like a TV screen and like kind of segmented in there.
It feels very Fincher-esque.
Yeah.
Like, it feels one-to-one with like a Social Network, that approach. And I was just like, whoa. I just watched the trailer before we started recording. I was like, this is chilling. I really like it. Robert Pattinson can do no wrong at this point.
He's always doing interesting voices. Mickey 17 was interesting. Devil All the Time, also that COVID movie. It sounds like kind of similar to that voice a little bit. Yeah. So I'm interested in that. And then we had the trailer for the second season of X-Men 97. I actually haven't watched the first season of X-Men 97. I think it was, 2 years ago when Deadpool and Wolverine was coming out, I started the X-Men animated series, and I watched the first season and a half, really liked it, just didn't keep up with it, and kind of my lead up to it, but I think I'm actually going to try and watch through all of the X-Men animated series, finish that out, watch X-Men 97, and then get caught up for the second season.
When was that second season supposed to come out? Do you know?
I think it's in July. I think July 1st, maybe, if I remember right. So
you got some time.
Yeah, got a little bit of time. Got the month of June, kind of in between stuff to watch. Finish the animated series and watch 97, just because I've heard great things from everybody that's watched it.
July 1st, yeah.
And July 1st, so we'll have that. And yeah, I just kind of want to get caught up on that before like Doomsday comes out for sure. Even if it's not like I watch it right away, I definitely want to be caught up on that just because I've heard it's great. Deadpool shows up for like a second in the trailer of 97 season 2, so that's pretty fun.
I loved season 1, and it made me go back and rewatch because I'd seen some. I haven't seen it all in chronological order of X-Men 97. I watched it when I was younger, but I really did like the new rendition, X-Men 97, that first season. Big fan of that. Honestly, it goes toe-to-toe with like WandaVision as being maybe my favorite of the Disney MCU stuff that we've got on Disney+. So I really like that. I'm excited to see how it gets hopefully incorporated into what Doomsday might entail. But the trailer looks good. I can't wait. I didn't know I'd be so eagerly anticipating an animated TV show, which both things I'm not like the most like give it to me right now ever on, but X-Men 97 really sold me. It feels still like a Saturday morning cartoon, and watching it felt like I just had that same enthusiasm, that excitement watching it. It was just so fun, and it's handled very well.
One of the best themes.
Dude, does that shit hit? That's why they started calling it back in the Marvel. They're like, how do we get X-Men back in? Well, let's use X-Men 97 or the X-Men 90s series kind of intro music that and now we're copyrighted. But it's so fucking good. It works so well. Between that and Primetime, we had two really good trailers this week.
Into some sadder news that happened this week. Marcia Lucas, who is the ex-wife of George Lucas, she passed away at the age of 80 this week, and may not be a household name. You maybe not even know who she is, but she was an editor in the 70s and 80s, and either kind of an editor or supervising editor on all three original Star Wars movies, and then THX 1138 and American Graffiti, obviously George Lucas's movies before Star Wars. And then she worked with Scorsese a lot on Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver, New York, New York. She won an Oscar for Star Wars, and she was nominated for American Graffiti. But she is one of the most unsung heroes of all time in movies that nobody talks about, because the edit of Star Wars is one of the most important things to make that movie work. And editing is something that gets overlooked all the time of making a movie cohesive. And I've seen in interviews just from years ago where George Lucas talked about how the trench sequence in the end of the first Star Wars movie, there was thousands of feet of footage and film to go through of just the people in the cockpits and just hours of that, and then just of the actual battle itself. Yeah. And the daunting task of taking that on and having to pick out what works to make that sequence as iconic as it is, It's all on her.
Make a cohesive sequence with a beginning, middle, and end that fits the story, serves the characters, adds good tension, and is overall satisfying. Here's all of this homework, all of this footage that you get to go through.
Yep.
Fuck that. I'd be so pissed if I got that handed to me.
Because you can film the best stuff ever, but if it's edited incorrectly or in a weird sequence, then it doesn't matter. The movie's shit. But she was so instrumental in everything. And she also, in that original Star Wars, in A New Hope, she suggested that Ben Kenobi actually dies. Because George Lucas wasn't going to have that happen. But she's like, I think it's more of an emotional impact. So much behind the scenes of her on Star Wars and with Scorsese, too. Just working with, obviously, Taxi Driver is great and everything. So, go just, I don't know, appreciate her editing and just, like, watch interviews of, like, how much George Lucas was like. She was a huge reason of why Star Wars and movies in general changed so much because of her.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about the Oscars is, one, we get recognition for, for some of these, not necessarily smaller awards, but some of these more artistic, more behind-the-scenes awards. But I love the Best Director category, and I feel like a lot of the times when a director wins Best Director, one of the first people they're thanking is their editor. Whether it's Scorsese or Lucas, like, you get a lot of recognition to, like, hey, I capture a lot of stuff in camera. I have a lot of these ideas, but for someone to help take that idea and make it really sing, make it really work, it takes a really good editor. And I didn't know the extent to Marcia Lucas's back catalog of just amazing kind of work that she's put on screen. I love American Graffiti. I didn't know that she edited that, but it makes sense because of her connection to George Lucas, obviously. I didn't know that she edited Taxi Driver. A movie, like,
I think she was like a supervising editor there, but yeah.
To think about the edit of that movie alone, like, how do you make the story of Travis Bickle work? How do you make the infamous you talking to me? How do you make that scene work? Like, obviously De Niro's doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but how do you cut that together? So, and like, everything I've ever heard or read about or seen is that Star Wars on set, not necessarily a outright nightmare, but it wasn't necessarily, oh, hey, we have a lot of confidence in everything we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing all the time. You got a guy with great imaginative ideas, and then you have someone that has to kind of rein that in and make that work. George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it. Like, you got stuff like that coming from Harrison Ford's own mouth, talking about the dialogue that Lucas is giving him. All right, well, you have someone that has to, on the back end, edit that and make it work within a scene and make it believable, make it realistic. The edit of Star Wars is a insurmountable thing. It is a thing that only a special, skilled person could handle. And it is kind of sad that, like, her passing, I feel like it goes in... It's a little bit more of a quiet passing because you don't hear about, like, the life of an editor.
Right.
But this is someone that has a storied past, has achieved a lot, and is so pivotal in a lot of people's kind of build up, growing up, kind of childhood of films, of seeing Star Wars, of understanding cinema, of seeing it told in a specific way. That trench run is one of the best edited anythings. If you want to sit there and just, like, watch that, not even in context of the film, you sit down and watch that beginning, middle, end, that is so well done. And just the whoa, Harrison Ford flying it, like, that's all her work. Like, that's incredible. So it is a sad passing, but she is an all-star, almost Hall of Fame worthy editor in terms of the industry. So she will be definitely missed, but also, damn, she gave us some great work.
No, go take note of the editing in movies a lot more. It's fun. That's a fun thing, I feel like, since I've at least gotten more into movies and, like, actually analyzing them more, is just, like, those little things of noticing the craft behind it.
Every great director has an editor that they are leaning on a lot to help them out.
Movie lives and breathes in the edits. So very important there. The last couple bit of movie news things we had is just a couple kind of sequels to movies. First one is a Minecraft movie, which we had, last summer, or last spring, actually. I think in March or April, maybe. But the sequel's coming out, and it's called A Minecraft Movie Squared. Sure, I mean, I get it. I get Squared. Yeah, I understand. But they released, like, a little behind-the-scenes thing where Kirsten Dunst is coming in as Alex.
Yep.
If that means something to people. I don't know Minecraft, so maybe it's a character that's already there. So that's coming out. And then we have, kind of interesting, Evil Dead Wrath, which is not the Evil Dead movie coming out this year. That's Evil Dead Burn in July. Very excited for that.
I like that trailer a lot.
Yeah, and Evil Dead Wrath, they said they wrap production. It's coming out in 2028. So, we're getting a lot of Evil Dead movies in the last few years. I'm excited for the one this year, excited for the one next year, and we'll see kind of if it builds off of each other or if they're still kind of separate stories.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I know I'm not going to act like I knew this the entire time. I've played a little bit of Minecraft. It's mostly just like the build your own shit and not really get into a story. I'm not doing survival mode. I'm a guy that likes to just play an easy game and have a good leisure time. I don't like to get too into it. But Alex is a character within Minecraft lore, and the behind-the-scenes thing, you definitely get Kirsten Dunst with that same kind of like side braid that the Alex character has, so she looks great there. I love Kirsten Dunst. She doesn't get talked about for being like such a great actor. Obviously, nostalgia for a lot of the Spider-Man stuff and growing up with her, but she is so fucking good in Power of the Dog.
Yeah.
Like she in Civil War, she is so good. I love her, and I like. Not that I'm expecting like the most like tour de force performance in a Minecraft movie, but like that's a great addition. I'm interested to see her chemistry with everyone else. I like that first movie. I'm excited for the second one. The title is fine. I don't know if they could have said the second piece. It's similar with like Lego Movie, part 2 or whatever.
The second part.
The second part. Yeah. I'm like, you could have just said like second piece. I don't know. I'm not going to nitpick. That's the title, but I'm excited about it, and I like the cast still. Evil Dead Wrath, can't wait for that. It's coming from director? Is it Francis Galupi?
Oof, maybe.
I don't know. I'm excited for Evil Dead Burn and Evil Dead Wrath. Evil Dead Rise is great. I love Evil Dead 2013. I like Evil Dead 2. I like almost all of the Evil Dead movies. Army of Darkness is nutty and fun. I've never watched Ash vs. the Evil Dead, but who knows, maybe sometime I'll check it out between Burn and Wrath. But I'm really excited about it. I liked the way they announced it. I like the footage that they put out of just like the slate sinking into a pool of blood. I'm like, how very Evil Dead of that. So I'm a big fan. Can't wait for both of those movies. And that will do it for today's episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. If you don't follow us, please do us a favor and give us a follow or watch. Give us a comment on anything. If it's positive, if it's negative, I don't know if we need to hear it and hurt our little confidence right now. But in film, it's not just about what's on screen. It's also about who's next to you in the theater.
Oh, also, very quick thing. I missed an opportunity.
That was the ending sign-off, and now he wants to annul.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
I missed the thing to do last week. Actually, I have my Mandalorian and Grogu socks. My Mandalorian socks. I don't know if they're in the frame there. They're somewhere. They're really cool. I got them years ago, and I
hope that wasn't in frame.
Yeah, somebody saw it in there. Or just my calf or my thigh. But I have my Mandalorian socks on. I forgot to wear them last week, so I put them on today. Just wanted to say that before the...
Finish the sign-off.
Before that episode ended here.
Good job.
Yeah. So
nice seeing your upper leg hair.
Yeah, no, that's fun. I hairy legs. But anyways, from Mason and I at Slate Night.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.